Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I love Shabbat, and this is one of my favorite Shabbatot during the year, because I really do love Hadassah for many, many reasons. It is the largest women's organization in the world. We do wonderful things. I know Debbie DeLynn, who is our president for life, is going to tell you more about that later on. Or at least until someone agrees to take over the responsibilities, and hopefully one of you will do that for this coming year. But for now, Debbie will explain things about what she loves about Hadassah in a little bit. Many of you already know that my sons are fifth generation Hadassah, that I am fourth generation. You can be not a Hadassah member, it's called a Hadassah associate member, and I see that just about everybody here who is not a member is an associate member, and I love that. So, and you know that I've also seen Hadassah from other side as well, and that is that they took care of my dad the last 2 weeks of his life because he died at Hadassah Hospital, and I can't tell you how much I appreciated the care they gave him and the meaningful kinds of contacts that I had with the doctors there, even though I was so far away. So, as a matter of fact, there's even a video on YouTube. If you Google Arnie Lawrence, it's painful to watch, for me at least, but Dad was teaching at a school. He had started a school, I think it was called the International School of Jazz in Jerusalem, and there were students from the Ramallah and Jerusalem, and they had to play gigs each week. Elizabeth went to see them shortly before they got shut down because of Intifada. But he, the last days, about 2 days before he died, there's a video of him sitting in a wheelchair with a saxophone in his hands, in the hospital gown, and his students came to play with him. Playing means, my grandma used to tease my mom all the time, why would you marry a guy that when he goes to work it's called playing? What were you thinking? But my dad, the students are all playing jazz, and Dad is trying, and he can't breathe. He had lung cancer, and you hear it, and it hurts my heart. But you see all the love, and you see the fact that they did this, they allowed this to happen at Hadassah Hospital, is one of the things that I will always remember and always be glad about. So I don't want to stall the beginning. I just wanted to welcome you and give an introduction about what Hadassah is and does. Lots of things in this country too, and lots of things in Israel. But before we begin the service, we also realize it's a Shabbat service, and therefore, if you had stress during the week, anybody? If you had stress during the week, I'm sorry, I laughed because I saw something, I don't know if they just shared it with me, that some news report came to me that said that there's this new design, a designer came up with this new clothing line that's for people who are stressed, and all of them had their shoulders up here. It was hysterical, but that's what I need. I need everybody to let their shoulders down. I need everybody to take a deep breath in, and let it out slowly. And take another deep breath in. Let it out slowly. And keep breathing and keep relaxing. See where there's tension in you and let it go, because it's Shabbat and all those things have to be left behind. We are going to be doing service 3. If you're watching online, hi, welcome. It's on the page for Hadassah Shabbat. It's also on our prayer book page that you can see the pages as we're doing it. It starts on page 82. And we begin by welcoming Shabbat with our candle blessing. And we are welcoming Barbara Joseph, who is also a 5th generation. Are you 5th? You're 4th generation, and your kids are 5th generation. And also obviously connected. One of the things that I love about our service here is that it is a community service. Agudath Achim and B'nai Zion members are part of this, and we do this together. And I think that nobody represents Agudath Achim and B'nai Zion together better than Barbara does. Our tradition is please rise. Page 82. Is it on? Max, her mic is on? It is not on. She's on 2, okay? On.
These lights are only flickering flames, yet flames illumine our uncertain steps. Flames remind us of Sabbaths long past and of their beauty that delighted our hearts. May they inspire us to work for the great Sabbath of peace. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
We praise you.
We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe. You hallow us with your mitzvot and command us to kindle the Sabbath lights.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Before you're seated, everybody who's a member or associate member of Hadassah, please raise your hand. Everyone who is not a member, please raise your hand. I want to make sure that everybody says Shabbat Shalom. I usually say to someone you come in with and someone you didn't, but today I'm going to say to everyone who's a member and everyone isn't a member, make sure everybody gets covered. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Once you finish Shabbat Shaloming everybody around you, you may be seated. And today we are going to go directly to the welcoming of the angels that accompany us on Shabbat. On page 84, we welcome our angels.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Bimelech, Malachei HaMlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Bolechem l'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei HaMlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei HaMlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Tzidchem l'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei HaMlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu.
Mic 1, Max.
The synagogue is the sanctuary of Israel. Born of our longing for the living God, it has been to Israel throughout our wanderings a visible token of the presence of God in our people's midst. Its beauty is the beauty of holiness. Steadfast, it has stood as the champion of justice, mercy, and peace.
Its truths are true for all people. Its love is a love for all people. Its God is the God of all people. As it has been said, my house shall be called a house of prayer for all peoples.
Let all the family of Israel, all who hunger for righteousness, all who seek the eternal, find God here, and here find life.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב ומרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמך דקודשה בריחו, לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה, ומירו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
The farthermost star. You are as mysterious as the vast solitudes of night, yet as familiar to us as the light of the sun. To Moses you said, "You cannot see my face, but I will make all my goodness pass before you." Even so does your goodness pass before us in the realm of nature and in the joys and sorrows of life.
When justice burns within us like a flaming fire, when love evokes willing sacrifice from us, when to the last full measure of selfless devotion we demonstrate our belief in the ultimate triumph of truth and righteousness, then your goodness enters our lives, and we can begin to change the world. And then you live within our hearts, and we, through righteousness, behold your presence.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. We read together, "You shall love your eternal God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your being. Set these words which I command you this day upon your heart. Teach them faithfully to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand.
Let
Let them be symbols before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Be mindful of all my mitzvot and do them. So shall you consecrate yourselves to your God. I am your eternal God, who led you out of Egypt to be your God. I am your eternal God."
I, the Eternal One, have called you to righteousness and taken you by the hand and kept you. I have made you a covenant people, a light to the nations.
We are Israel, witness to the covenant between God and God's children.
This is the covenant I make with Israel. I will place my Torah in your midst and write it upon your hearts. I will be your God, and you shall be my people.
We are Israel. Our Torah forbids the worship of race or nation, possessions or power.
You who worship gods that cannot save you, hear the words of the Eternal One. I am God, there is none else.
We are Israel. Our prophets proclaimed an
our
exalted vision for the world.
Hate evil and love what is good. Let justice well up as waters, and righteousness as a mighty stream.
We are Israel, schooled in the suffering of the oppressed.
You shall not oppress your neighbors nor rob them. You shall not stand idle while your neighbor bleeds.
We are Israel, taught to beat swords into plowshares,
plowshares,
commanded to pursue peace.
Violence shall no longer be heard in your land, desolation and destruction within your borders. All your children will be taught of your God, and great shall be the peace of your children.
We are Israel, O God, when we are witnesses to your love and messengers of your truth.
You are my witnesses, says the Eternal One, and my servant whom I have chosen. Know me, therefore, and put your trust in me.
We are Israel, O God, when we proclaim you God our Redeemer, as did our ancestors on the shores of the Red Sea. And it has been said, the Eternal One delivered Jacob and redeemed us from the hand of one stronger than ourselves. From the hand of one stronger than ourselves we were redeemed. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael, we praise you, O God, Redeemer of Israel. We continue on page 92. Come up, come on.
May we lie down this night in peace and rise up to life renewed. O God, spread over us your shelter of peace, of quiet and calm, and bless us with rest. And let a time come when morning will bring no word of war, famine, or anguish, a time of happiness, of contentment and rest. We give thanks for the night and its rest and the promise of peace for all the world.
You want to do it? What do you want to do? Come on. Here, come on. I even have a thing for you here. You can help me sing because the next thing is a song. You ready? You're going to pop this on. Okay. Yep. You ready? You have to sing the song. Sing it with me. You could la-la when we do this. Ready? V'shameru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם אותי לעולם אותי לעולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם וביום השביעי Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Vishameru b'nei Yisrael HaShabbat, La'asot et HaShabbat Ledorotam berit olam. Would you say into the microphone, say Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. We continue on page 93. You could go back to your seat if you want. You want to go, Bubby?
93.
Thank you. And say, please rise. Say, please rise.
Please rise.
Thank you. Go back to Bubby. She saved you a seat. I like having helpers today. This is awesome. Page 93. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Leah ve'Elohei Rachel Ha'el Hagadol Hagibur v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'konei hakol V'zocher chaste avot v'imahot U'mevi geula livnei v'nehem L'ma'an shemo be'ahava Melech ozer u'moshia u'magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. We continue in the middle of page 94.
God of all nations, of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, of Sarah, Rebekah, Leah, and Rachel, be praised. Your wondrous creative power fills heaven and earth.
God of life and death, be praised. Through us send help to the falling, healing to the sick, freedom to the captive. Confirm your faithfulness to those who sleep in the dust.
Awesome and holy God, be praised. With acts of love and truth we hallow your name, as it is said, be holy, for I, your eternal God, am holy.
God of times and seasons, be praised. Enable us through Sabbath rest to explore and learn and impart the meanings of your Torah. Make our hearts ready to serve you this day and all days. You may be seated.
God who answers prayer, be praised. May we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer, wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands, you are our God.
Source of life and its wonders, be praised. You are the miracle within all we behold. You are goodness, you are compassion. We give thanks to you forever.
God of peace, of justice, and of love, be praised. Inspire us to banish forever hatred, war, and bloodshed. Help us to establish forever one human family united in peace. God of peace, bless us with peace.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim L'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim L'olam. Ki ata hu melech adon l'kol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim L'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim la'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, tasim la'olam, tasim la'olam, tasim la'olam.
Until this part in the service, you were given the words to say. They're words from tradition, there's interpretations. I hope you noticed how many of these words matched the things that Hadassah does and inspired us to continue to do it. But now in the service is the time where we get to say the words that are in our own hearts. We take a moment for silent prayer. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל העולם. ואמרו At this time in our service, our hearts and our prayers turn to those who are ill or recuperating. We turn to the inside back cover of our prayer book. And if you have people for whom you would like us to be praying for healing or recuperation, a little bit of extra strength, I invite you to call out the names. We're in our hearts, and Doug, and the driver. For all these names, for the names we choose to hold in our hearts and not say out loud, we pray together. O God, in our hearts we name those who are facing illness and pain. We join our prayers with the prayers of all who love them. Give them renewed comfort and courage. Strengthen in them the healing powers you have placed within us all. Guide the hands and hearts of those who are entrusted with their care. May the knowledge of your love and ours give added hope to them and to their dear ones. May they find even greater strength because our prayers are linked to theirs. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofeh HaCholim. We praise you, eternal God, the source of healing and health. And it has become our tradition to add, on behalf of our military, the police, the firefighters, the EMTs, the doctors, the nurses, and the veterans. Misheberach avotenu ve'imotenu, may the one who blessed and protected our ancestors guard all those whom we have entrusted with the responsibility of defending our freedom, protecting us, or healing us in this country, in the land of Israel, and everywhere they've been called to serve. Give them courage to succeed and strength to persevere. May they return home safely. And let us say, Amen. It is now my honor and privilege to invite Debbie DeLynn to come up and tell us what she would like to say about Hadassah. I'm always interested in hearing what she has to say about Hadassah. And while she's coming up, if I may, if you've been keeping up with the news about my cousin who got out of Ukraine, did you see that he got married last Friday in Copenhagen? So she's not his fiancée anymore. She is now his mom called and said, "Hey, guess what? I have a new daughter-in-law and 3 grandchildren." So they're in Copenhagen and they're still trying to make their way to the States, but we're getting there slowly but surely.
Thanks.
You're very welcome. Let's make sure this is at a good height for you. You good?
I want to thank all of my Hadassah members who did such a good job, and I hope for many more years that we can get together this way. I was told, or I gave my word that I would talk about what Hadassah was to me, and it has given me an excuse to go back memory lane about 57 years ago when I was living in Israel, and I first went to Israel with my husband, who wanted to get his doctorate at the Hebrew University. And seems like only yesterday, but I'm going to stroll down memory lane. I've been hitched to Hadassah, you might say, for 57 years. It all began about 54 years ago when my husband and I and our son, infant son, Doug, moved bag and baggage to Israel, not knowing where we would live. The only Hebrew speaker was my husband, Norman, who had an excellent command of spoken Hebrew. He had learned at his Talmud Torah in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. He was told that he spoke like a native, and many of the people that he knew, he was able to communicate with, and that was a blessing. Kind of brings me to a memory. We were in the bus station. I think we were going to Jerusalem for the first time, and we were waiting for the bus. And I was thirsty, and I said to Norman, I said, what can I do? And he said, well, go walk through the bus station and keep saying to yourself, Mitz Ashkoliot Babachbuch. So I paraded around the station saying, Mitz Ashkoliot Babachbuch. And I did get what I ordered, which was grapefruit juice.
In a bottle.
We settled in Jerusalem on Rehov Aza, number 42, in a beautiful apartment that belonged to the then ambassador to Uganda and his wife and family. And apartment was large and held all sorts of modern conveniences. We were very lucky, and in those days, rents were fairly reasonable. The apartment was completely furnished and had a modern stove and refrigerator. And I remember having trouble getting used to direct current, having come from a country with alternating current, but I got used to it. And I had a rudimentary knowledge of Hebrew. Our friend who was a rabbi taught me and some mutual friends a few words of Hebrew. So we were able to say Mashlech and a few other things that came in to being friendly with Israelis. I'm adding to this, the shopkeepers, a number of whom were Arab, also spoke Hebrew quite fluently, and I began to pick it up. I bet it was nice. I was able to get cucumbers instead of melons when I was going through a lot of extra speech. Not long after that, we became acquainted with Hadassah Medical Center in Ain Kerem. The center at I'll come to that. In my second, I was pregnant with my second child on my second visit to the Ain Kerem setting, and I was very proud to deliver my second child at Hadassah Hospital at Ain Kerem. We named him Neil. He was delivered by a midwife. Oddly enough, or maybe coincidentally enough, the two obstetricians who were at the hospital both were out of the country, even though I'd made appointments with them to do the delivery. But a lovely midwife took care of it, and it was a troublesome labor, but it went fine. The young boy was born. The baby was healthy, and shortly after that, I was able to breastfeed him, and it was a lovely memory. I do remember also waiting in a hallway after the baby was delivered. There was no room for the bed in the bedroom. So, until there was room, I was waiting in the hallway. I was in a unit for new mothers, both by now I'm reading my handwriting. Obstetrician and her alternate were, as I say, out of the country, but no matter. My second Hadassah stay was due to pneumonia. For some reason or other, I was very sensitive to an Israeli strain of pneumonia. And I went to the hospital and was there for a few days, and then went home and went through the recovery. And it was just after my second child was born that I got pneumonia again and went back to Hadassah Hospital and was given antibiotics and other curatives, and went home and went through the recovery again. And I will say this, after that, I was smoking at that time, and I decided, why am I doing this? And I couldn't get a reasonable answer, so I quit. We then visited the Mount Scopus facility and didn't know what was there. And ashamedly, I learned that it was used mainly for pediatric departments. According to online reports, it contained 11 attending physicians, 43 nurses, 2 dietitians, 2 child life workers, and a pediatric social worker. Now, if I've only been a little older, when I became a social worker, I would have applied. The physicians held academic appointments at Hebrew University Medical School and also taught medical students and residents. The units and clinics included familial dysautonomia, which is a treatment of systems that we don't have control over, that are autonomic, like circulatory and reproductive and digestion. There weren't as an intensive care, a child protection services, endocrinology clinic, allergy, immunology, and a center for neuropediatrics. I'm surprised that I became aware of that so late in life. But at any rate, it was a beautiful setting. There was also a metabolism clinic, a pediatric gastroenterology clinic, and a pediatric learning clinic, and a pediatric emergency services. I must say, and in confession, I just learned this. I didn't know what was located at the Mount Scopus setting. A third time we were in Hadassah Hospital. This was because my son Doug had difficulty with hearing infections, ear infections. And I must say, I remember him getting up in the crib and walking from one end to the other and knocking something over. I don't know what it was, but I do remember there was a crash, and we all looked kind of dumbfounded, and he was forgiven because he was 3 years old. Since I've been away from Israel, I see Hadassah as my bridge to the country. I devote a lot of time and thought to it. I usually become a gatekeeper. For years I've been a gatekeeper member, which means I give a certain amount every year, and it doesn't hurt. Other Hadassah programs that I should re-inform you about are the Youth Aliyah program, which supports services for children who are at risk for ability to conform to the Israeli pattern of living. And the Youth Aliyah members help these children with advice, with services, with counseling, and this enables them to fit more comfortably into the Israeli pattern of life. Finally, Hadassah supports teens in the diaspora, not in Israel, which receives scholarships, usually for extended stays in Israel. If I'd only known about that when I was younger, but it's all right. I had an extended stay there, about 4.5 years. Nowadays, USA and part of the diaspora, I've come to think of my relationship with Israel as a direct result of giving a healthy donation every year, and I'm glad that I do it. I'm glad that I'm able to do it. I'm called a gatekeeper. I won't urge you to do that is to give, to be a gatekeeper, but it's there, and it can be done in parts. You can stretch it out over a year or more to reach the gatekeeper minimum. And I must say that Hadassah has been tuned into my conscience and my consciousness, and I think about it often.
Always on your mind.
Pardon me?
Always on your mind.
Yes, it is.
Often on your mind.
As I say, I remember the details of our stay there, and
I don't remember ever hearing all those details of all of the times that you were there. I'm going to take you down this way. Ready?
That apartment became a business after several other tenants came in.
Come to see. Thank you, Debbie.
It was a dental office.
It was not, last time you went, it was a dental office. Thank you very, very much. So actually, next we get to call upon the president. And while she's coming up, I'm going to let you know something of what's going on at Agudath Achim this week. Tomorrow, there is a celebratory day because yesterday, 7 people went to the mikveh to become part of the Jewish family. And so tomorrow at 10 o'clock services, they are going to be celebrating at Agudath Achim these new Jewish family members, we like to call them, and there will be a celebratory lunch afterwards, and obviously everyone is invited because that's a simcha. And next Friday, they're doing something that I think is interesting. Next Friday, we have Simcha Shabbat because it's the first Friday of the month, so everyone with birthdays or anniversaries in April will be celebrating, and I forgot to put that in your announcements. But they're doing something that they're calling Kabbalat Shabbat and Challah Bake-Off. They're challenging us to use all of the flour that's left in the house to make your most delicious challah and bring it on Friday, and after services, they're going to taste test the challahs. It's a good idea. It's a good idea, so just in case. And their services start at 7:30. The Kabbalat Shabbat starts at 7:30 there, so you can come here, celebrate all of the people who have birthdays or anniversaries in April, and then go over there and have services and celebrate by taste testing all the challah. I think it's a plan. I think it's a good thing to try to do. There's a lot going on.
Shabbat Shalom. We are truly welcoming to the Shreveport Chapter of Hadassah tonight and appreciate all that each of you have contributed. Join Rabbi Jana for a Zoom Onyx Shabbat tonight. It'll be about 30 minutes after we get out of here. Tomorrow morning, join Rabbi at 9:45 Torah study, and at 11 a.m. Shabbat morning service. Those will both be on Zoom. B'nai Zion is having a Passover Seder Friday, April 15th. The reservation form with all the details is on the B'nai Zion website. No reservations will be accepted after April 1st, which is next Friday. Firm. Please contact myself or Jerry Black if you can help with the preparations. And when I say the Sunday of the Scholar in Residence, I'm expecting the men to stay afterwards and set up the table, and some of our women friends who will be there. We would love for you to set the tables, so we need to get that out of the way. And then if you're a good chopper, or in other words, kitchen helper, we've got some dates set up that following week that we've got lots to do, and I would really appreciate the help. But Benzie Kogan is a wonderful speaker, and he will be our scholar in residence the weekend of April 8th to 10th. Friday evening and Sunday morning we'll be here at B'nai Zion. Saturday morning and Saturday evening will be at Agudath Achim. You are encouraged to attend all of his events. The schedule with the topics of each presentation is on the B'nai Zion website. Thanks to the Jewish Federation of North Louisiana for hosting this event. Donations were made to B'nai Zion Sisterhood Flower Fund in loving memory of Sarah David by Patty David and family, in loving memory of Virginia Joyner by Ellen Ray Joyner. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. And you triggered things that I think we were supposed to say also. This year, Agudath Achim's Seder is also the first night, and please get those reservations in soon for them as well. Rabbi Sidney and I had this very long debate about whether that's a problem, that both of them are on Friday, and of course it's not a problem. It's when there's a Seder. Yeah, but we also have somebody who's under the age of 13 who can help us as well. You want to come up? You want to come help? We need somebody to help us with opening the ark. Everyone please turn to page 148 and rise when the ark is open. Come on up, help us over here. We need your help all the way up on the bima because we can boing up there. Look, we're going to open these doors. Look, what do you think is in there? Torahs. Not only that, what's down here? Do you remember? Oh, she remembers. Fine. Wow. Take one. We need you to hug one while we do this. That's a good one. Ready? On page 148, we're going to sing together. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, la'tet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoye haratzot, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we continue at the bottom of the page and we sing, Shehu note shamayim v'yosed haaretz, u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim ima'al, u'shchinat uzo b'govhei meromim, Hu Eloheinu ein od, emet malkeinu efesulato, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. We continue on page 150. The day will come when all shall turn with trust to you, O God, hearkening to your voice, bearing witness to your truth. Please join me. We pray with all our hearts. Let violence be gone. Let the day come soon when evil shall give way to goodness, when war shall be forgotten, and all at last shall live in freedom. O source of life, may we, created in your image, embrace one another in friendship and in joy. Then shall we be one family, and then shall your sovereignty be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. The eternal God will reign forever and ever. On that day, O God, you shall be one, and your name shall be one.
Vayom
Hahu, Bayom Hahu, Yeh Adonai Echad, U'Shemo put the Torah away? We got to close the arks again. Ready? Thank you. I love how you kissed that Torah. It made my heart so happy. Thank you. Ooh, lovely. I love this. Ready? Oh, they look good. Awesome. Ready? Help me close this door. Help me close the door. Gently. Watch your fingers. Great job. All right, now help me close this one. Hope. Ready? Push, push, push. Thank you. Oh, this one's hard to do. Watch your fingers again. Awesome. Thank you. Everybody may be seated. That's okay. Beam me up, Scotty. I love those things. She's great. No problemo. We continue then on page 151. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. It has become our tradition to acknowledge that we have lost people who are our first responders. We know that we've lost at least 6 people in our military this year. We know that we've lost 84 police officers. We've lost 6 canine officers, 30 firefighters. We are very sad about all the losses that are happening because of the war and hostilities in the Ukraine. As we remember them, let us meditate on the meaning of love and loss and life and death. We turn to page 153. Life is finite. Like a candle, it burns, it glows. It is radiant with warmth and beauty. Then it fades. Its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light, we see. In light, we are seen. The flames dance, and our lives are full. But as night follows day, the candle of our life burns down and gutters. There's an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair. For we are more than a memory, slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives, we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. However brief may be our time on earth, O God, you endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. We now recall the loved ones whom death has recently taken from us. B'nai Zion, we're remembering these congregants' parents who died within the past year. We remember Henry Brenner, Ron Riley, Fred Phillips, Carl Aaron, Carolyn Talbert, and Marcia Katzenstein. And as we remember those who died at this season in years past, we take them into our hearts with our own. This past week, Agudath Achim was remembering Francis Wolchansky, Lenore Levitt, and Stephen Suckle. B'nai Zion was remembering Louis Block Jr., Ben Bloomberg Jr., Barbara Chesley, Sarah David, Donna Dunn, Molly Kruger Glazer, Marguerite Gumbiner, Mrs. A. Harold Sr., Milton S. Holland Sr., Emily Virginia Dupree Joyner, Aaron Katzenstein, Erna Levy, Mortimer D. Marks, Todd Andrew Shepard, Henrietta Mayer Simon, and Bertha Willer. In this moment of memory, our griefs and sympathies are mingled. Loving God, we rise as together we praise your name. The Mourner's Kaddish is found on page 154. The translation is on 155. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chaye chon u'vyomei chon u'v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shemei Rabbah mevarach la'alam u'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha barichu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved. Amen. I'm going to ask that you stay standing for our closing song and face our flag. This flag, Israel should always be in our hearts, and we're going to sing Hatikva as our closing song. It sings about the hope, Hatikva, the hope that 2,000 years we had, and we finally made it back to our promised land. Kol hod balevav panima, nefesh Yehudi homiha, ulefate mizrach kadima, ayin litzion sofiha. Od lo avda tikvatenu, התקווה בת שנות 2000, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. And look at each other. Help me out here. Point to each other and say, Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmarecha. May God bless you. May God protect you. Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May the light of God's face shine upon you. Be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's face always be lifted up to you, because God has something God looks up to you about. May God grant you peace. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Thank you for being here. What a blessing it is to be together. Can I have a Shabbat Shalom hug? Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. What do you need? You want to say it? I have to turn the microphone back on. Hold on.